I was way up here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Bible study. It's good to see you all here today in the lovely weather that we're having as always. My wife was telling me this morning that we're having a band of snow come through, and I said, why can't we just have a quartet? She said a soloist would be better.
That would be
Exactly.
God. Freaked out by God.
I think-
quartets and choir. Louise, can we get you in the choir? We got some good songs.
I
Good
don't
group
sing
last
very
night.
well
And
anymore.
you're not going up in the balcony.
And we're
this
not
year.
going to the
Oh,
balcony.
good.
We're staying on the main floor.
See, I was here I was tired out after the supper last night.
I know I
Yeah.
ran out to try to catch you,
Oh,
but you were already gone.
Already
and I
gone.
thought I'd catch Sherry to see if she wanted to sing.
well, Sherry wasn't there, but
I'm gonna be gone.
Oh, she's gonna be gone.
And I think Jane's
You're
gone.
lucky I'm gonna be gone.
Jane?
I gotta sit, and somebody's gotta listen.
I always figured you need an audience.
Yeah, you can't be up front.
I put my phone in the back rather than glasses.
There you go. It's hard when you don't have your glasses with you. So
Yeah. It's extremely hard.
yes. Well, don't worry, I won't make you read then. All right, so, well, in honor of today, this was last week's. We are like snowflakes. Alone we are insignificant, but we can do a lot when we stick together. So,
that's really true.
But
we'll be in Isaiah today.
Isaiah 42.
It's easier to give excuses than to take responsibility. A Bible in the hand is worth 2 in the bookcase. Or 7 like I have.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
Instead of pointing a finger, lend a hand. Instead of pointing a finger, lend a hand. And the last one, we've been under the same management for more than 2,000 years. So, yep, those are our ones, and I should tell my wife to get me one for next year, because
I was gonna say, I hope she'll do that again.
we're in the mode.
where is Isaiah?
So one of the ways that I always look for Isaiah,
It's in the middle.
yeah, it's a little past the middle.
Not mine, but
Let's see. Isaiah 42. I won't do what I tell all the confirmation kids. Look at the table of contents. I do that. I say that's the first thing when we look up anything
Thank
for
you.
Bible study for confirmation. I said, okay, so we're going to be in this book of the Bible. How do you find it? And they all have gotten really good to say table of contents. I said, okay, well then use the table of contents. Just don't tell me that. Because they're all really good at telling me, but then they're like, well, where's the table of contents? In the front of the Bible. So,
Well, Jane made a kind of a rhyme to
yeah.
yes.
figure out where they were.
Yeah, we did that for a while too. As we did a rhyme, but I think I think even if we think of all the folks that are in our congregation, how easy is it for them to get around in the Bible? You know, I think maybe I should do that one Sunday and say, okay, so let's just help you go through the Bible. You know, let's
Have a contest.
have a contest. How fast can you find the book of the contest? And give out a $50 gift card. If you can find, I bet we get a lot of participation then. Say, I'll give you a $50 gift card if you can get to all these different things. So
I have Bible tabs.
Yeah.
that's
Oh.
Oh,
fine.
I see that.
Yeah, you could do that.
So do you.
In
But
this one, then.
I don't think people realize how much there's so many other resources in their Bible, like a concordance that they can.
Oh, sure.
If they think of just a partial verse,
Yep.
where do I find that? You know, or I don't know, histories, and every Bible has a lot of maps,
Yep.
different resources that people maybe forget about that they could really enjoy if they dug into it.
Absolutely. So, you know, maybe we'll do that one Sunday. Is just say today we're just going to have you pull out one of those Bibles in front of you and we're just going to show you, you know, what it looks like and how we can get from point A to point B.
We had to memorize the books in their order when we were in confirmation.
So how are you doing with that right now?
Sunday school, it's, some of them are okay, but some of the weirder ones, well, I don't mean weird, but some
Well,
of
the
them.
ones that we
Yeah.
don't go to very
They're only
often.
Right.
page 2, so
Yeah.
makes it hard.
like Obadiah or
Yeah.
The
something
minor
like that.
prophets are.
Yeah, the minor prophets are not an easy one. But I mean, we did that for some of the confirmation kids. We went through the New Testament. They were really good at getting that. The Old Testament, though, wow, that was a hard one. That was a. So I'm like,
The New Testament
yeah,
is easy.
it is. It's a lot easier.
And tougher words and names that
Right.
just
Yeah,
don't
that they
click
don't
in their
know.
brains.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Well, ours either.
yeah, I was saying that I think the biggest thing from what I learned from being a scientist is where do you find your resources? And I think that's a more powerful thing to teach the kids. So they might not remember all the books, but hey, they have down pat. I don't know where John is at, but I can open up, the table of contents, find John, get you there. It's getting people to give them the basics. So if they remember the basics, then they can riff off of that, and so. So we are in the book of Isaiah this week. Isaiah is a prophet, a major or minor.
Major.
So he has got a lot to say. That's why I always just look a little right past center on the Bible, and you'll find right center of the middle of the Bible. You'll find Isaiah. So, see, there you go. See, there another resource. See it? So like I said, we're in the book of Isaiah. There's many times Isaiah is broken up into 3 parts again. They think that there's 3 different authors for Isaiah. There's also people who think there's just one author for Isaiah. There's a whole bunch of different time frames as to when they think Isaiah was written. This should all not be news. Whenever it comes to a book of the Bible, you're going to have controversy because people, surprisingly, don't agree. If you ever need to see how much of disagreement we have, just look at how many denominations we have, just as Lutherans. When there is, so there's always disagreements on those type of things. So as we read through the text for today, I think the big thing to sort of know is this text is historically sort of targeted at the people that are in exile, people who are going to be coming back. And there was an interesting reflection from one of the commentaries I read, which was the righteous, the people who are exiled consider themselves God's righteous remnant. And the people who were left in Israel consider themselves as
The righteous
remnant. And so now you have 2 groups of people who think they're the righteous remnant coming back together and trying to figure things out. Would there be conflict in that? So just so you know that the people who we're talking about today consider themselves a righteous remnant, both sides. And so how big of a conflict we're going to have with that. And so God is trying to speak to the people in terms of that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, as we think of this text is a text that I think we hear fairly often around this time of year. And so it shouldn't hopefully feel unfamiliar. You should probably have heard pieces of this before. So any questions before we start about Isaiah or just in general? As you looked at this before, did you notice anything that you're like, I hope he really talks about such and such, that way I'll forget to talk about it? So, otherwise, let's have somebody read 1 through 5, and then the other person just finish us out.
Go ahead.
Here is my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will bring justice to the nations. He will not shout or cry out, or raise his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. He will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. In his teaching the islands put their hope. That this is what God the Lord says, the creator of the heavens, who stretches them out, who spreads out the earth with all that springs from it, who gives breath to its people and life to those who walk on it.
What am I supposed to do?
It'll be
I,
42.
the Lord, I'll do it. I, the Lord, have called you to demonstrate my righteousness. I will take you by the hand and guide you, and I will give you to my people Israel. As a symbol of my covenant with them, all you will be a light to guide the nations. You will open the eyes of the blind. You will free the captive from the prison, releasing those who sit in dark dungeons. I am the Lord, that he is my name. I will not give my glory to anyone else, nor share my praise with carved idols. Everything I prophesied has come true, and now I will prophesy again. I will tell you the future before it happens.
Perfect. Thank you. So what do you guys think? So who's this text about?
About the coming Christ.
Who do you think Jews think this text is about?
Israel.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So you have sort of, so you have Christians, as we look at the text, we can point to Jesus and say, okay, this is who this text is about. But our Jewish brothers and sisters is like, no, this is about the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is often seen as the suffering servant. So, and so here is one more piece that we could add on to this as well too. What about us? Because being Christians, aren't we also sort of grafted onto the people of Israel as well too? So, could you make the statement to say that this text also talks about us in that sense as well too, as a suffering servant? What do you guys think about that? Or am I just blowing hot air as I normally do on a Wednesday? What do you think? Because remember, you don't have to agree with me. I don't ever want a Bible study to be, oh, we're all doing kumbaya and agree with stuff. No, I really want you to sort of think, you know, hey, I agree with that, or you are way off base on that.
No, I agree with you. We're supposed to be looking for justice. We're supposed to be helping the poor and the hungry and those that are in jail and those that dwell in darkness. We're supposed to be that light to the world. We're called to do that.
So why don't we then?
Because we're weak and we're sinful, prideful.
Yeah,
Sinful.
yeah, yeah,
We're human.
yeah. Very true.
There's no reason that it can't actually mean all of that,
You are correct as well.
because there's so many places in Scripture where there's more than one
Mm-hmm.
actual meaning, or
Absolutely.
more levels of meaning.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's one of them here, is where we can see that. We can see that. We can identify Jesus in the text. We can see our Jewish brothers and sisters' point of view, that is Israel's. And then we can also see, since we are a part, spiritually at least, of the nation of Israel, that we are embedded in the text as well too. So.
And his covenant applies to us today, that
Yep.
we're blessed to be a blessing. That covenant has always been upon us
Yep.
as well, all generations.
Exactly. Exactly. So I want you to think about light. Why do you think the prophet uses light? There's a whole bunch of different metaphors. Why not heat? Why not something else? Why light? what's a characteristic of light that you think, a light to the nations? What does that? Why aren't you the heat of the nations? Why are you not the lamb of the nations? Why aren't you the cistern for the nations? Why light? What about light? Tell me why you think light.
Well, it's always there. I mean, with light, there's hope, or there's better feeling, and I mean, if you lived in a dark room all the time, you're depressed.
Yeah.
So, light, I'm comparing it to water used for baptism. It's there. It's something that we can get or put our hand on, and light is too.
Okay.
Unless you live in Alaska or Norway or something.
But then you get light for half the year.
The other half.
The other half you don't, not so much.
I see it as a revealing.
Okay.
Without light, you can't see.
Mhm.
And light reveals you're a revelation to the nations,
Yeah.
showing them the way to go.
Yeah. Anything else? Like I said, would you use a different word? And I don't have a word in mind either. It's just, I'm not looking, I'm not fishing for anything, but I think it's interesting that they use light. And so the commentary I was reading said this is an interesting property of light. So let's say as we gathered in this room today, the heat wasn't working on the rest of the building except for this room. And so we would keep the door closed to keep the heat in. But if someone knocks on the door and says, hey, can you open the door so we can get some heat in the hallway? That doesn't seem like a good use of heat, right? You'd probably say, well, no, you come into the room and we'll keep the heat in here. Now, when that happens, when someone says, well, it's dark out there and we have light in here, if we open the door, there's no less light in here than if, like I said, if we look at heat. So if that heat, that would escape, but light, on the other hand, does not. There's no diminishment if we share light. If we share heat, there is, but there's not a diminishment if we use light. That light will go wherever, and we still can use light to see today. So I thought that was a very interesting way of showing us why light is important, why they say you are the light of the nations, because that light doesn't go from you. It goes from you, but it doesn't
Diminish.
Right, it doesn't diminish at all. So I thought that was an interesting insight. So
Is that why we put up Christmas lights and everything? Is the light, tree lights, all the lights for Christmas?
yeah,
Candles.
candles. Yeah,
Takes away the darkness.
it does.
Shines in the night time.
Yeah,
The stars of
Yeah.
bright light.
Light is often used as a symbol of God.
yeah,
The glory
Yeah.
of Shekinah.
Yeah.
Light, glory.
yeah, absolutely. It's
How many artists put an aura around Jesus in their paintings?
yeah,
Light of the world.
yeah. So let's talk about light again a little, just more property-wise. So light, we sort of talked about, allows you to.
I really fit in.
Light and laughter.
So if you think about the properties of light, we saw that it allows us to see better, right? It's easier to see in light. What else could you sort of think? What does light help do as well too? So like we're in a bright room right now, we're able to read a little better, right?
And what a difference these new lights made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can see how
It's
everything
nice
looks.
to have bright light.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's neat to see that and to But people might not see light as always a good thing, though. Why would people not see light as a good thing?
Trying to sleep.
Trying to sleep? Yeah.
Trying to hide things.
Hide, yeah.
If you're a criminal, you don't want the light to
Yep.
expose your
Right.
darkness.
That
Right.
shows the ugliness in our world and
Yeah.
what
It does.
it's like.
It does. Yeah, it's yeah, it's and I think that's sort of the duality of light. Light is good at revealing stuff, but do we always want stuff to be revealed?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to have that stuff revealed and be like, so what do we do with that? So I think that's one of the hard parts of that. And when we think about Isaiah's poem too, what do you think about to open the eyes of the blind? What do you think that means, especially in terms of light? What kind of blindness do you think Isaiah is talking about? Or what's the, when you first figure out blindness, what do you feel? What's that sort of gut situation do you feel like when you hear that there's blindness involved?
I wasn't thinking blind eyes, I was thinking of blind people that
Okay.
can't see, or can't see the word of the Lord or
Okay.
something.
Yeah. So I think that's another type of interesting thing too. As we, some people think right away when they think blindness, they think of it's just the physical blindness that the light affects, but it's actually like what you're saying, Louise.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's
Spiritual blindness.
your spiritual blindness.
Both John the Baptist and Jesus told the Pharisees that they were blind.
Absolutely.
My thing in here says they had seen and heard God working among them, yet they paid no attention.
Yeah. And it's easy to do. We see a lot of that in our world today. God's speaking into our world, and we're like, no, we don't want to hear that because. So, what do you feel the light of Jesus has revealed to us that makes us uncomfortable?
We see our failures, our missteps or our sin.
Mm-hmm. So, our light reveals our sins to us, reveals our missteps. What else do we get revealed that makes us uncomfortable?
That the light is for the whole world and we like to kind of be prejudiced in some things.
Absolutely.
The truth isn't always easy to see, to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the truth is hard sometimes. And so I think that's a lot of it too. People don't want to deal with the truth. They don't want to deal with that. So
Reveals how selfish we are.
Mhm. Yep.
And I think the world's getting worse about that, but
Yep.
we're asked to think about others and care for them. It really shows us how selfish we are.
And there's shootings every day.
yeah, shootings. Yeah. So it sort of sounds like this text is pushing us though at the same time. It's asking us, so it reminds us that this stuff is happening in the world, and yet, for all of our faults, all of our sins, what does God want us to be? The light. So knowing God knows us, God knows that we don't get it right all the time, and yet God still asks us, be the light in the world. So what do you guys, how are you going to be light this week to somebody? To somebody or something?
Don't hide it under a bushel.
Oh no, you gotta let it shine.
I'm sorry, Jean, what were you gonna say?
We have so many opportunities to help people or do things for others, but we just go about our life and let them take care of themselves, unfortunately.
Talk about light, look at the light outside.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's done snowing.
Yeah.
Yay. We're done with our solo.
Yeah.
So how can you bring light? Because God's charging each of us with light this week. So how will you do that this week?
I got an example of light.
Sure.
Sandra called me this morning, left a message. I didn't hear the phone ring. Wondering if I was all right. Because I got three lights over the counter in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and one of them is, you know about this,
Yes,
don't you?
yep.
One of them is directly in line with her kitchen window facing west. Our kitchen windows face that way. She wondering if I was all right. Well, so I ran the message, and then I got to looking, and the light bulb was burnt out. So I called Sandra. I says, "Whoa," you know, and I hadn't even noticed the light bulb was burnt out. There's three of them there, you know, and
Yeah.
it's daylight. Thanked her for being. But when was it? It was last fall. I went to two of my brothers went to the Packers game. I left at 5 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I had told the pastor that I wasn't going to be in church on Sunday. Of course, he said you do a day of rest during the week.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sandra come for communion. We drive up communion, and she brought it up with the minister. Well, his light wasn't on this morning. But he knew I went to the Packers game.
That's
Yeah.
nice to have.
And of course, I see her kitchen light too, you know, and notice that, well, her light's on, Sandra's up.
Yeah.
And, but it was just one of them fluke things, you know, but she keeps an eye on me, I guess.
Sounds like
She's all right.
I have people,
We can
and,
even see.
decided it was a lie. I made sure there were lights on,
Yeah.
and, when the wind Ruth were living badly for me, I was, look,
You had to keep track of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you're supposed to do, keep track of your neighbors.
Well, a lot of people have a drape that they either close or open or something, or when, yeah.
Yeah. But it's just the way the houses were built, our kitchens face each other, you know. And she's
That's
called me a
good.
couple times.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I mean, I think that reminds
Your door
us.
shade is still down, and I worry.
Well, Tom and Mary, this is the second time it happened when I first got there. I didn't open my shades and they came right in the bedroom. And the other morning, I was sleeping till 10 o'clock and they came right in the bedroom, Janine, you're all right. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful.
Well,
You're
yeah, it's-
watching over me. I'm so happy, but it just kind of shocks me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right.
Well, okay, we just had a death and kind of related to, I mean, they are related to us, but in the community, he was 54 and he died in his lounge chair or recliner. Went to sleep, you know, in the evening, and the next morning she got out there and he was dead.
Who was that?
So, Tim Snyder, you know, Jerry Snyder was his boy.
But I think that's a good example of just how we are a light for each other. So that we do a good job of keeping track of each other.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's good. And as we think about that, I think God pushes us a little bit more to say, okay, this is good that you look after your neighbor, and
And
how
Who
else
is
do
your neighbor?
who is your neighbor? That's the other. Who is your neighbor, and how are you keeping track of them, or how are you not necessarily track of them, but how are you making sure that they're okay? Because we're hearing some wonderful examples of people checking in on each other. Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Now, why is that different than somebody else in the community that doesn't have any food. How is that different than that person on the street corner that we drive by all the time? You know, how is that different?
It isn't.
It isn't.
No. I think partially, like when we live down, you know, it's an association, so that it's kind of
A community.
well, everybody kind of knows everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like a group, you know, but it should be citywide.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. What if everybody in Baldwin did that? They looked out for their neighbor and said, "Hey, how you doing today?" So what are some of the scary things about doing that though? Because I could see everybody's heart sort of, oh boy, I don't know if I can do that.
Well, you wouldn't want just anybody going into your house. Mary, yeah.
Personal
But-
space, personal space.
What are some of the big barriers to that though?
Well, someone might think you're intruding in their,
Yeah,
Yeah.
in their,
and they've got a gun.
Yeah. They have a gun.
you know. I mean, I don't think you'd want to go into anybody's house.
Yeah, but a telephone call is good.
But, you know, if you see someone here back, I don't know, a year ago, there was a guy trying to get over the hump there with his wheelchair, or by the library in front of between the driveway, there's a little hump.
Yeah.
So I stopped and gave him a push, you know, I mean, it was, well, I know the guy, I can't think of his name now, but I mean, it's out in the open, you know, and he was struggling to get over that,
Oh yeah.
just a little rise there, you know. And, but some people might think you're imposing too.
Right.
Well, my brother-in-law had a stroke,
Okay.
had one, and he was in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the book depository where John Kennedy got shot,
Yeah.
and he was in a wheelchair. Opened the door for him.
Mm-hmm.
People were crowding in front of him.
Right.
You know, it's like,
But
You
that
know,
was
the
down there,
words-
not Baldwin.
no one.
Yeah.
When I was incapacitated, the walker and everything
Yeah.
else, people opened the door for me.
Oh, good. I'm glad people would open the door for you. So.
When I was working the elections years ago, Carol Rudisil was aging, and she lived not too far from the village office. However, it was quite a trek. It was kind of uphill, and she had trouble breathing. By the time she got into the election, she said, "I've got to sit down." And I said, "You sit down. Now, see this person, the last one? That's who you're going to follow, and we'll just make sure we have chairs so you don't have to stand in line." Well, the next guy that came in, they went through all the lines, and so I went and got her when it was her turn to be in line, and the guy that would have been behind her chewed me out like royally and said, "How come you let her come in front of me? I've been standing in line." I said, "She is unable to stand," and I explained it to him, and then, you know, I just thought, man.
Yeah. I sort of see something that is sort of a common denominator in all these stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether we know the person or not. Right? It's a lot easier once you know a person. I'm not saying it works all the time, but to understand their circumstance. So like when you're talking about well, you just can't walk into anybody's house. No, you're right. But if you know that person, I'm not saying you can walk into their house still, but I mean,
Yeah.
but you know what they like. You know what's you know because we're like, well, we don't know if they would need any help. But if we get to know that person, we might, you know. So I think it's
Good to know your neighbors.
yeah.
Or
Well,
anybody.
just think if the people of Baldwin got to know each other better. I'm not saying we all have to be in each other's stuff, but if we would know that, you know, this family's going a particular hard time for whatever reason, you know, we could say, hey, can I help you out with, you know, something? Can I take the kids somewhere? You know, something like that. But I wonder what it would look like if we would just begin with that. What if we just started to get to know somebody else, just to say, hey, I haven't talked to you for a little while, or I don't know you really well. Would you mind if we just talked for 5-10 minutes?
It's probably the way it was in 1900.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
You had that eye-opening experience with your neighbor when you found out a reason behind her gruffness. Yeah,
Yes.
just
I had an example I shared with Jean. There was a person on that had another business in Glenwood and never looked in the window or anything, and I, in my mind, had, oh, there goes the crabby lady again. Well, one day I decided I was going to talk to her, and we have kind of become friends. And the other day she opened up to me that her son had committed suicide a year ago. So all this time that I was thinking she was crabby, she was dealing with the fact that he had been trying to commit suicide for years and finally succeeded. And we got to be good enough friends that she came and told me, I asked her about, well, how many kids do you have? Well, I have 3, but my son last year committed suicide. And I thought, oh, Jane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you wouldn't have known if.
No.
Right.
That's how we find people. Yeah.
So I'm gonna task you this week. So it sort of sounds,
Oh,
as we think about lights, what if you I'll give you a 5-minute conversation with someone you either haven't talked to for a little while or somebody new, just to get to know them a little bit. That's it. You don't have to tell them about Jesus. You don't have to do anything like that. Just get to know them a little better. 5 minutes. Think you could do that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Be a Boy Scout.
You don't necessarily have to be a Boy Scout, but just say, you're at the store, you're in line, and you don't know the person in front of you. Hey, how you doing today? What's going on? It's an innocuous question.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's
Yeah. You don't go up to him and say, hey, are you saved? Don't recommend that right now.
Just like my neighbor on the south side. So he's working on his Harley. I figured I'll just go over and be neighborly.
Yeah. Just
Then he said, what do you want?
Yeah.
I said nothing.
Yeah. Just want to see how you're doing today.
Yeah.
Most people like talking about themselves.
you walking in the store, like you walk in, I went to stop at the store to get a paper this morning, and somebody's coming out, and if you just say good morning to somebody, they guess, oh, good morning. I mean, that's all it takes, really. Say good morning to somebody. They say, and then they say it back to you.
So I can't wait to hear your stories next week about how you talk to somebody for
5 whole minutes.
5 whole minutes.
Can't I use my one I used today?
Nope. You can go back and talk to her some more.
sorry, Jane.
I'll come over and go buy your shop.
There you go.
Oh,
There you
grab
go.
that crabby Sherry. Sherry, you get it.
Did you time that one? It was probably only 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well,
It's
any
the
other?
kind of the same way over at the care center, some people, I mean, you just stop in the hall and talk to them. I mean, some of them got such a dour look on their face. I mean, I don't know.
Some don't talk, and some
Don't talk.
There's one that has a son there, that's from New Richmond. Or, the boy lived in New Richmond. I'm not sure where she's from. She is so friendly, and we met her out when we were sitting outside. And the other day, she and then her brother, I think she said, was here, and so they've been visiting the son. I had completely forgotten what she looked like when she said, "Oh, how are you?" She said, "I haven't seen you for a long time because we haven't been outside." And so, I mean, just the friendliest person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I asked my roommate, I asked her, have you ever been hit at work?
Mm-hmm.
And she said yes.
Oh yeah. I'm not surprised. So, working in healthcare, sometimes you do get hit. So, well, anything else about the text? Otherwise, we're gonna.
Yeah, my footnotes is, if you believe that this passage is about Jesus, then verse 1 reveals the Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
The I, we're told in verse 8 that I am the Lord, but then there's my chosen, and I put my spirit upon him.
There you go. Yep. So you have that sort of Trinity language. Absolutely. And our Jewish brothers and sisters would say, nope, that's all about us. So, like I said, it's just a difference of interpretation. So, anything else? Good point, Don. Thank you for joining us for Bible study today. At this time, we'd like you to pray. So if there's any prayer requests you have, please give them. You can either attach them below in the comment section, send me an email or the office and let us know how we can best pray for you. I hope you have a great week. Take care, and God bless.